course I know motherfuckers want to kill me.
Hey, y'all, man, they done shot FBG Duck in the Gold Coast of Chicago, bro.
FBG Duck's murder stands as one of the most brazen drill-related hits ever captured on camera, and now it's heating up all over again. The feds have officially begun connecting Lil Durk to the case. In this video, we're breaking down how Durk allegedly greenlit the hit that took out FBG Duck and how what started as a rap beef escalated into a full-blown federal murder investigation. Let's get into the details and unpack what really happened. But first, for those who might not be familiar with the deep-rooted politics of Chicago's drill scene, let me set the stage. We're talking about two of the most influential figures in the city's street rap game. Lil Durk, who's affiliated with O-Block and the Black Disciples, and FBG Duck, who repped Tuckerville and the Gangster Disciples. This wasn't just a war of words over beats or bars. This was a real-life feud tied to long-standing gang rivalries that had been brewing for over a decade. The story that's unfolded through court documents, civil lawsuits, and now federal investigations paints a picture more intense and sinister than anything Hollywood could dream up. We're talking about alleged bounties, coordinated hits, and a conspiracy that prosecutors say reaches all the way to the top of OTF Only the Family, Durk's collective, which is now being labeled a criminal enterprise. August 4th, 2020. That was the day everything changed in Chicago's drill scene. FBG Duck, whose real name was Carlton Weekly, was out shopping in the upscale Gold Coast area of Chicago, picking up gifts for his son's birthday. That's when everything went left. Duck was ambushed and gunned down in broad daylight, right outside a Dolce & Gabbana store. He was hit 16 times. His girlfriend, Kashake Williams, and another innocent bystander were also injured in the crossfire. But here's where things get even crazier. This wasn't just some random street beef gone bad. According to a massive civil lawsuit filed by Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, the hit was allegedly ordered from the top. The documents claim that King Von put a $100,000 bounty on Duck's head, and that Lil Durk was pulling strings behind the scenes as the mastermind, directing the moves of OTF from the shadows.
Our complainant law lays out that a $100,000 bounty was placed on the life of FBG Duck to have him killed.
The feds weren't playing games either. In January 2024, 6 O-Block members were convicted for the murder of FBG Duck: Charles Liggins, Kenneth Roberson, Christopher Thomas, Marcus Smart, Carlos Offord, and Ralph Turpin. And these weren't just random shooters from the block. These were Durk's people, his alleged soldiers. Prosecutors say they were carrying out orders that came from the very top of the OTF hierarchy. Now, when people say Durk killed Duck on camera, they don't mean there's actual video of Lil Durk pulling the trigger. Nah, it goes much deeper than that. They're talking about the digital trail that prosecutors have pieced together. Social media posts, music videos, rap lyrics, cell phone records, all allegedly tying the pieces of a massive conspiracy together, not only to plan the hit, but to celebrate it. Take King Von's video Took Her to the Open. It dropped just months before Duck was killed, and in it, Von's character literally murders someone named Duck. According to the lawsuit, this wasn't just a story, it was part of a coordinated intimidation campaign to threaten Duck publicly before carrying out the real thing. With over 350 million views on YouTube, that video wasn't just entertainment. According to prosecutors, it was a warning. The streets already knew what time it was. The beef between O-Block and Tuckerville wasn't new, but what makes this case so crazy is how Lil Durk allegedly used his fame, influence, and platform to take that street beef and turn it into a corporate-level criminal conspiracy. Prosecutors are now naming major record labels including Sony, Universal, Alamo, and Empire, and accusing them of profiting off real-life violence while turning a blind eye to what was happening behind the scenes. But here's where it gets even more intense. Ralph Turpin, one of the shooters convicted for Duck's murder, was allegedly in direct contact with a phone number linked to Durk's brother Deeth, right around the time Duck was tracked and killed. That means this wasn't some random encounter in the streets, it was a coordinated hit. With communication allegedly going straight back to OTF leadership, the streets have been whispering about this for years, but now the courts are finally catching up to what many in the hood already knew. FBG Duck's murder wasn't just another tragic loss in Chicago's gang wars, it was allegedly a business move. A strategic, calculated decision made by the top players in one of hip-hop's most powerful collectives. Now, let's talk about why Duck had a target on his back to begin with, because the context matters. When Duck released the track Dead, he wasn't just dissing his ups, he was essentially walking through O-Block's graveyard and spitting on every headstone. He named specific deceased members, mocking how they died, and questioning their reputation even after death. In Chicago's drill culture, that's the ultimate violation, and according to prosecutors, that's exactly what put him in the crosshairs. What makes this different from your average street beef is the level of alleged sophistication behind it. This wasn't a hot-headed teenager reacting off emotion. The lawsuit claims this was a calculated decision made at the leadership level of OTF. They allegedly weighed the risks and rewards of eliminating one of their biggest rivals, and decided it was worth it in the profit motive. That's what turned this murder from something personal into something profitable. Think about the coordination this required. People tracking Duck's movements, someone with the power to grip a hit in broad daylight in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Chicago, shooters willing to risk life sentences, the music machine ready to capitalize off the aftermath with sales, streams, and viral content. That's not street-level thinking, that's corporate-level criminal enterprise.
2 vehicles pulled up. 4 individuals exited those vehicles, 2 from each vehicle, and began firing at the individuals that were on the sidewalk outside of one of the stores here.
The social media angle of this case reveals exactly how modern criminal conspiracies unfold in the digital age. Every Instagram post, every tweet, every YouTube comment, it's all now evidence. The same platforms these artists use to build their brands and fame are now being used by prosecutors to document their alleged crimes. It's like stacking digital building blocks, and with each new piece of evidence, the picture becomes clearer. F wasn't just a music crew, according to federal prosecutors. It was a criminal enterprise. The lawsuit claims F used music industry resources to fund, coordinate, and conceal real-world violence while profiting off the chaos it unleashed. And what makes the story even more tragic is that FBG Duck may have been trying to turn things around before he was killed. His 2019 track, Chicago Legends, paid respect to fallen O-Block members, something many saw as an attempt to extend an olive branch. A rare moment of peace, but in the streets, peace doesn't always hold. And the federal government didn't forget either. In fact, the word profit appears 102 times in the 229-page lawsuit, a clear message that prosecutors believe this entire situation was driven by money and clout. Every stream of a diss track, every like or comment on an Instagram post mocking Duck's death, every YouTube view of a music video dissing the opposition. Prosecutors say it all translated into revenue, and that F's leadership knew exactly what they were doing. This isn't just a beef between 2 rappers anymore. It's a larger story about how the music industry allegedly helped turn street violence into a business model. Labels funded artists they knew were actively involved in criminal activity because in the world of drill rap, controversy sells and authenticity pays. But this goes deeper than just shock value and rap beef. Now, we're about to follow the money and the digital footprints that prosecutors say link it all together. We've laid out the backstory. Now let's dig into the evidence that's forming the foundation of a RICO case that could reshape everything we thought we knew about drill rap and street politics. This isn't just speculation from the barbershop anymore. This is a federal investigation built on wiretaps, cell tower records, text messages, social media, and encrypted chats, all pointing toward a criminal operation disguised as a music label. And the scariest part, we're not talking about something done in the shadows. We're talking about a brazen hit in the middle of the day in one of Chicago's richest neighborhoods, and a group of people who allegedly planned it out like clockwork. The feds didn't stumble onto this case by accident. They've been building it slowly, deliberately, brick by brick, and every new detail tells a story about how this group may have used the music industry as a front to run something far more sinister.
These individuals murdered Mr. Weekly as part of their effort to maintain or increase their position in the O-Block.
Let's start with the music, because in drill rap, the bars don't lie. Lil Durk's 2021 track Should Have Ducked wasn't just a diss song. According to prosecutors, it was a victory lap. When Durk rapped, "She asked me how high do I get, I told her high as Duck," that wasn't just clever wordplay. The lawsuit claims it was Durk literally profiting off Duck's death, turning murder into marketing. But it goes deeper than one song. In Durk's 2024 track Monitoring Me, he raps, "I don't gotta pay nobody to do nothing, I got killers, all my friends." To prosecutors, that's not art, that's a confession. They argue this is Durk openly admitting to having a crew of shooters around him, loyal, ready, and possibly on the payroll. And then comes the social media trail, arguably even more damning. On the same day Duck was killed, Durk tweeted, "Rip Nusky." The streets noticed the timing, so did federal investigators. That pattern of coordinated posts and subtle references is now being presented as evidence. The feds believe members of F knew what was coming before it happened, and their digital footprints reflect that. Then there's the King Von angle, and this is where everything comes together. King Von wasn't just Durk's artist. According to the lawsuit, he was F's underboss, the one putting bounties on rivals and allegedly orchestrating the hits. The infamous Took Her to the O music video, now with over 350 million views, wasn't just entertainment. Prosecutors say it was a public threat, a preview of what was about to happen to Duck. But the digital evidence doesn't stop there. Ralph Turpin, the man who allegedly alerted the O-Block shooters to Duck's location, was in contact with a phone number linked to D-Thing, Durk's brother and alleged second-in-command. This wasn't random. Prosecutors claim it was a coordinated operation, with communication flowing up and down the chain of command within F. The financial records help paint the rest of the picture, a picture of how F allegedly monetized violence every time Duck's name was dropped in a track. Every time his death was mentioned in an interview, every stream, every view, every bar, allegedly translated into money for Durk and for OTF. The lawsuit alleges that F became an international brand by glorifying Durk's murder. But this wasn't just about dollars. It was about systematically turning street credibility into marketing gold. The more violent the lyrics sounded, the more authentic the beef appeared, the more real the danger felt, the more attention and revenue it generated. According to prosecutors, Durk's death wasn't just a casualty of gang politics. It was a business opportunity, and the involvement of major record labels makes the story even more complex. Sony, Universal, Alamo, Empire, all are named in the lawsuit, accused of knowingly profiting off violence while ignoring the criminal activity of their artists. The lawsuit claims that these companies welcomed artists with criminal records because controversy sells, and nothing screams authenticity like real blood spilled in real neighborhoods.
The threatening, the killing, and then the celebration of the killing and the continued killing, all on the name of...
Let me break down just how sophisticated this alleged operation really was. We're not talking about a handful of street-level dealers trying to settle beef the old-fashioned way. According to federal prosecutors, this was a multi-million-dollar enterprise, one that used legitimate business structures to fund, coordinate, and conceal criminal activity. F reportedly had contracts with major record labels, distribution deals, touring agreements, and merchandise operations, all of which prosecutors allege functioned as fronts for a continuing criminal enterprise in the timeline of events. It paints a picture of premeditation. Durk drops a track dissing multiple fallen O-Block members. Shortly after, Von allegedly responds by putting a bounty on Durk's head. Then Took Her to the O is released, a music video prosecutors now describe as a public threat. Not long after, Durk is located and gunned down in broad daylight. Investigators say the communications behind the scenes flowed directly back to F leadership, showing a level of coordination that goes far beyond random violence. And the footage from that day, it tells its own story. The location, the timing, and the execution all point toward a carefully planned operation, one carried out in one of Chicago's most high-profile shopping districts. In the middle of the day, with deadly precision.
Hey, y'all, man, they done shot FBG Durk in the Gold Coast of Chicago, bro. In the Gold Coast of Chicago.
Durk wasn't anywhere near his usual turf that day. He was on the Gold Coast, one of Chicago's most upscale areas, far removed from the blocks he came up on. But somehow, the O-Block shooters knew exactly where to find him. That kind of intelligence doesn't happen by accident. It suggests serious surveillance, planned coordination on a level far beyond random street beef. Testimony from the trial of the 6 convicted O-Block members made things even clearer. Durk's girlfriend and the mother of his child testified about ongoing threats and harassment from F members leading up to the shooting. This wasn't just music, it was personal, it was systematic, and according to prosecutors, it was directed from the very top. The federal government's RICO approach to this case proves they're treating F like an organized crime family. The same tactics once used to bring down the mafia are now being applied to drill collectives, with prosecutors arguing that record labels and street crews have merged into cybercriminal enterprises. What makes this case even more explosive is Lil Durk's subsequent arrest on murder-for-hire charges connected to the Quando Rando shooting. Once again, the pattern is familiar. Retaliation for King Von's death, allegedly coordinated through F's network, with Durk calling shots behind the scenes. Federal investigators are using both the Durk and Rondo cases to establish a pattern of behavior, a trail that points to F operating as a continuing criminal enterprise, and this goes beyond the courtroom. The civil lawsuit filed by Durk's mother Lashina Weekly isn't just about financial damages. It's about exposing a network of criminal behavior that allegedly goes all the way to the top of F. The 230-page document reads less like a lawsuit and more like a federal indictment. It lays out detailed allegations about how Lil Durk used his platform, influence, and money to fuel street violence, turning rap beef into real-world bloodshed. And the digital evidence, it keeps piling up, but perhaps most telling is how the music industry and community have responded to the growing accusations. Lil Durk was stripped of his honorary key to the city of Broadview, Illinois. His Neighborhood Heroes Foundation lost several partnerships. When your own city starts distancing itself from you, that speaks volumes. The streets are reacting to. Social media posts show a community that's conflicted, tired of the violence, but still loyal to the ones they raised. The same neighborhoods that made Durk a superstar are now asking, was the cost of that fame too high? And now, we're left in the aftermath watching the ripple effects of this case spread not just through the streets of Chicago, but through the entire music industry. What started as one murder has morphed into something bigger. Prosecutors are now alleging a systematic pattern of targeted violence, all orchestrated by one of hip-hop's biggest stars. Let's be real. After Durk was killed, Durk didn't lay low or walk away from the beef. He allegedly celebrated it. His song, Should Have Ducked, wasn't just a diss, it was a victory chant, according to the lawsuit. It turned Durk's death into profit. And when Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, heard those lyrics, she didn't just get angry, she got organized. That anger turned into legal action, and that legal action evolved into a massive lawsuit, one that now threatens to bring F down from the inside out. The legal strategy behind the civil suit is bold and brilliant. Instead of going after just Durk, Duck's family is also targeting major record labels and even the city of Chicago. They're not just blaming the shooters, they're pointing fingers at a systemic failure that allowed it all to happen. They're saying the police didn't act fast enough, they're saying the labels profited from the violence, and they're saying everyone at the top looked the other way while the streets kept bleeding.
As a company, when you realize that you have a dangerous product, and you're pushing that dangerous product out to the public, you have a responsibility to ensure that that dangerous product does not injure or hurt or harm anyone.
The timing of Durk's arrest on the Quando Rondo murder for hire charges couldn't have been more perfect for prosecutors building the Duck case. When the feds grabbed Durk in Florida, they weren't just charging him with one crime, they were establishing a pattern of behavior that allegedly shows F as a continuing criminal enterprise. The parallels between the Duck murder and the Quando Rondo hit are impossible. Tonya, both allegedly involved bounties, both were retaliation for previous, both allegedly had Durk's fingerprints all over them. The feds are using the same playbook they used against organized crime families, showing how hip-hop collectives can function as modern-day crime syndicates. What makes this case so dangerous for Durk is how prosecutors are using his own lyrics against him when he raps about having killers as friends. They're treating it as evidence when he references specific murders in his songs. They're using it toastably as his knowledge of and involvement in criminal activity. This an artistic expression to the feds. This is confession. The music industry is watching this case closely because the implications go far beyond just Durk and F. If prosecutors can successfully argue tight record labels are complicit in by funding and promoting artists with criminal backgrounds, it could change how the entire industry operates. The lawsuit against Sony Universal and other major labels is basically arguing that their accessories to murder the community response has been complex and revealing. Fathers of both Durk and Duck recently came together to promote peace, showing that even in the midst of all this legal drama, there's still hope for healing. But the streets are also watching to see if justice will finally served for Duck's death. The financial implications of this case are staggering. TAF generated millions of dollars in revenue from streams, concerts, and merchandise, and prosecutors are arguing with it. Duck's murder was part of what made that success possible. Every time someone streamed a song about Duck's death, allegedly profited from violence, the social media evidence keeps growing with posts and interactions that allegedly show coordination between F members around the time of Duck's murder. The digital footprint of a conspiracy issued to erase, and prosecutors have been methodically building a timeline that allegedly shows Durk's involvement from start to finish. The impact on Chicago's drill scene has been profound. Young artists are now watching their lyrics more carefully, knowing that what they say in songs could be used against them in court. The line between artist expression and criminal confession has never been blurrier. The internationalization this case has received show Chicago's street politics have global implications. Drill rap has spread though. The UK, New York, and other cities, and prosecutors in those places are watching to see how American courts handle the intersection of music and criminal activity. Duck's mother's advocacy workers transformed her from a grieving parent into a powerful voice for change. Lawsuit isn't just about getting justice for her son, it's about exposing a system that allegedly profits from thousands of young black men in Chicago. Their court label. The angle of this case could set precedents that reshape the music industry if courts ruled that labels can be held liable for the criminal actions of their artists. It could fundamentally change how companies approach signing controversially lacks the authenticity that drill rap values so highly could become a legal liability. The federal government's approach to this case represents a new phase in how they are targeting organized crime by treating hip-hop collectives like crime familiars. Prosecutors are adapting RICO statutes to modern realities where criminal entities use music and social media instead of traditional mob tactics. The evidence of coordination between different levels of the elite conspiracy keeps growing, from street-level shooters to executives at major labels. The web of alleged complicit issues how modern criminal enterprise can span legitimate and illegitimate robustness. As this case moves through the courts, it's becoming clear that Duck's murder was allegedly just one part of a larger pattern of violence that prosecutors say was coordinated by it. The systematic nature of the alleged crimes is what makes this case so dangerous for everyone involved right now. The future of F hangs in the balance as federal investigators continue building their case. If Durk gets convicted on these charges, it could mean the end of one of hip-hop's most successful independent labels and a warning to other artists about the consequences of mixing street politics with the music business, the effects of this case are already being felt throughout the drill rap ecosystem. Other artists are distancing thumbsvols from the violent, retro-crude labels of being more careful about their signing and concert venues are implementing stricter security measures. The cost of authenticity is starting to outweigh the benefits. What makes this case particularly significant is how it's forcing the music industry to confront its role in profiting from raw violence. The lawsuit against major rebels isn't just about holding them financially responsible, it's about forcing them to acknowledge that their business model sometimes depends on artists who are actively involved in criminal activity. The question becomes at what point does funding controversial it become funding actual crime? The ultimate question this case raises is whether the music industry can continue to profit from authentic street narratives without becoming complicit in violence. Those narratives described. Lawsuit filed by Duxperm argues that there's no meaningful difference between funding an artist and funding their criminal activity, when that criminal activity is what makes them authentic. The long-term implications of this case will likely extend far beyond just Lil Durk. And if prosecutors can successfully establish that hip-hop collectives can function as criminal enterprises and that reputables can be held liable for the criminal actions of their artists, it could fundamentally reshape how the music industry operates. The cost of authenticity may finally be too high to pay. The streets of Chicago are watching this case closely, knowing that the outcome could determine whether the cycle of violence that has claimed so many young lives will continue or whether the system will finally hold accountable those who profit from that violence. Duck's murder wasn't just another casualty in Chicago's war. It was allegedly a calculated business decision made at the highest levels of the music industry as federal prosecutors continue building their case. The evidence keeps mounting that operated as more than just a music collective. If the allegations are proven true, it means that one of hip-hop's most successful independent labels was actually a criminal enterprise. Fattest music industry resources to fund and to coordinate real violence. That's not just a story about two rappers beefing. That's a story about how deeply criminal activity has penetrated the music industry itself. And with that, we've come to the end of this deep dive. For more juicy content like this, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and check out the card showing on your screen for more videos. Don't forget to comment your thoughts below.